Overcoming barriers and finding motivation. Welcome to this short video around overcoming barriers and finding motivation. You'll find a few tips in here about how you might start to overcome those things that stop you getting to where you want to be. This could apply to lots of different situations like work, exercise, hobbies or goals you might have. We'll start off by thinking about motivation. What is motivation? Well, a few things really. It could be a driving force behind our actions. It could be something that moves us towards acting, a drive to achieve a goal, a need, desire, or impulse to act. It could be something that pushes us to do things, or a force that initiates our behaviour. However you describe it, motivation is something we rely on. What do you define motivation as? Well, a question that commonly comes is, why is it important that we feel motivated? There might be a few things that come to mind when we say this. But without motivation, we would simply not have the desire and drive to achieve the things we need or want to do. Simply there would be no driving force to push us to achieving our goals. We might feel a bit like this guy on the right, scratching his head, not really knowing where we want to go, with lots of ideas in our head. Often the problem is that we don't feel motivated, and we often ask, well, what if I don't feel motivated? It doesn't feel as easy sometimes as just getting there. And much like, again, this guy sitting on the sofa on the left, we might just feel a little bit stuck. It can be really frustrating when we don't feel that motivation straight away, and it can make us really feel like we want to give up. But there are things that we can do to help us find motivation and overcome those barriers we might face. One of the first things is considering what kind of barriers we have. So, thinking about that then, what are the common barriers to motivation? I wonder what comes to your mind. Some common ones that we see are things like not knowing where to start, feeling a lack of control, not really feeling ready or feeling so overwhelmed that we're not ready. Our actions maybe not quite aligning with the values that we hold. No clear goal or focus or really direction of where we want to go. And maybe we just doubt ourselves quite a lot. There can be lots of things, but I wonder if you identify with any of those, or if you can think of any others that you identify with. So, where do we go from here? We want some steps towards finding that motivation, overcoming the barriers we face. And as that staircase looks on the right, it can feel like a long way up to that target. 3 key areas we're going to focus on today are going to come up. The first is values, the second is SMART goals, and the third is problem solving. These are the 3 key areas that I'm going to get you to focus on in this short video, and that will hopefully get you a little bit closer towards achieving those goals or those things you want to engage in. So values, we're looking at those key areas of our life that we identify with, or that drive our actions. When we look at SMART goals, we look at an easy way of setting goals. It utilises this SMART acronym that we'll come to explain a little bit later, but can make it easier to remember. And the final, problem solving. This is a structured method to help us consider overcoming those barriers and problems when they don't feel as simple as just setting a goal. So really, where do we start? Well, let's think about values. So values are things that help direct our actions, the things we care most about in life and make us who we are. Much like this image on the left, they direct the way that we live our lives, just like a compass. We can use them to help give us direction. They can change as we go through life, or they might stay the same. It's variable from person to person. And sometimes we may have to alter our actions to make sure we align them with our values. And this kind of ensures that we feel that contentment in our life, that we feel happy with the way we're going. So thinking about values, On the right, I'm going to give you some examples of common values that come up. Some may apply to you and some may not. There are many more that are listed elsewhere and not here, which also may apply to you. So do feel free to go out and do some research around this if you're interested. But common ones that we see are things like travelling and exploration, family, career or work, personal development, social life, friends, religion and spirituality, health like nutrition, exercise, mindfulness, for example, hobbies and leisure, and education. So we really want to work out, well, what values are most important to me? I'd encourage you to try noting down your values. What are those most important things? A top tip could be to score them out of 10, where 10 is the most important value to you, 0 the least. Give them that bit of a score, and then I want you to consider, how well are you achieving this value in your day-to-day? So again, giving them a score. 10, I'm fully achieving this value in my day-to-day life. My actions reflect that. Or 0, I don't feel like I'm achieving it at all. And when you look at those numbers side by side, how your score of how important it is versus how much you're achieving is, the more close those numbers are together, the more we're going to be able to feel that contentment, like we're really reaching those things that are most important to us. The further apart they are, the more unhappy we might feel, or the more we may feel we're not reaching what's truly most important. So this can be a really good exercise when we think about fleshing out what those values are for us and how we're looking at them currently. So how do we take these values forward? We can use them to inform our goals, but values are very much about how we want to behave right now and help us direct every step towards achieving our goals. So by breaking down our values into specific goals and smaller steps, it can be a really helpful way in giving us focus and things like time limits to increase our motivation towards this. Goals are really those future-based things, focused on completing or achieving something that aligns with those values. So thinking about ways that we can begin to set those goals then. I mentioned SMART goals earlier, and this is something I'll come to a couple of times. Looking at the SMART acronym, we look at specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-focused. All key areas when we think about setting a goal that is realistic for us, that's achievable, that gives us focus. So specific, considering exactly what that goal is, thinking about what, when, where, who. Measurable, making it quantifiable. Achievable, making sure it's realistic for the time and resources we have available to us, not out of our remit. Relevant, considering that bigger picture, remember those values. Why is it we're setting this goal? Does it align? How important is it? And time focused, making sure we put a time limit or a checkpoint to review the goal so that we have something to work towards. So from this, it would be great if you could start to write down some of the initial goals for yourself and then try making them smarter. Some tips with this is try setting no more than around 3 goals. You don't want to overwhelm yourself. Try and focus them on the short term for now, things that you can see in the near future. And try and set positive goals. Rather than saying, oh, I'd like to be less unfit, maybe turn it into doing my seated exercise for 15 minutes each morning to improve my fitness. It already makes us feel better about getting there. Because I know that SMART goals can feel a little bit kind of out there, I wanted to bring a situation that might apply to making a SMART goal. So if we consider Jay, now Jay might look like this guy standing on the right. He wants to begin exercising more regularly, but he isn't sure what he wants to do. He generally thinks he wants it to be fun and a way to become fitter. So he considers the SMART acronym. Now initially, what do you think he could do to make this goal more smart? Well, a few things that I came up with, and when we think about this case of Jay, is he needs to be specific. So he decides he wants to run. That's his exercise of choice, and he decides that a specific goal of 5 kilometres would be a good aim. He really prefers those social activities, they align with his values, and so he finds a local run group which happens on a Wednesday evening once per week, and they do the Couch to 5K programme, a programme that you might be familiar with that the NHS kind of supports. He makes it measurable by seeing if he's able to do this, kind of starting doing the running and attending the group. And after the program, he evaluates. Is he able to run this 5K? It makes it measurable. In terms of being achievable, rather than trying to run that 5K straight off the bat, Jay makes sure that he joins that program. It's a goal of running that 5K, a smaller distance, which feels more achievable, considering in this group, they're kind of moving up in small increments each week. He's happy to commit to the 3 times a week that they ask you to run, once with the run club and 2 more times to practice. It feels really relevant to Jay's goals and values. He wants this social time, he values having hobbies, therefore joining a club really fits with these. And in terms of being time focused, he wants to have achieved running a 5K in full by 9 weeks' time. The Run Club has a 9-week programme, and therefore he sets a review in his calendar for this date to check back and see if he's achieved what he wanted to. So final goal, he wants to be able to run 5K in 9 weeks' time by attending the weekly Couch to 5K running club on a Wednesday evening and practicing 2 more times a week. Can you see already how much more this goal feels motivating? He knows exactly what he needs to do, when he will have got there, and can really measure it. It feels much more motivating than I want to be exercising more regularly. Well, we may ask, what if there's still things that are stopping me from achieving my goal? It might feel like this picture on the right where we're just pushing such a heavy weight up a hill, we're just not really getting anywhere. And sometimes there's still factors at play that stop us from achieving our goals, and this is where we consider using the final tip, problem solving. So, problem solving. We may naturally do this when we're overwhelmed or stressed, but it can often be harder. Sometimes we need a step process to help us consider how we do this. And this helps us consider what the problem is, possible solutions, and put into plan an action plan that we can then practice and review. So off the bat, again, any problems or barriers you could use problem solving for that are coming to mind? So when we think about this, step 1 is to identify one problem. Step 2, to list all possible solutions. Step 3, think about the pros and cons of each solution. Step 4, select one of those solutions. And step 5, make an action plan. What is it we need to do? Go back to that what, when, where, who. Step 6, we need to implement the plan and give it a go. And 7, we need to review it. How did it go? Did it go well? Did it solve the problem? Did it not? We can then return back to step 4 of selecting another solution that we've listed, if necessary, if the first one didn't go so well or it wasn't quite the right thing, and we can repeat the process, going back to making an action plan, implementing and reviewing. This can kind of go round as many times until we've solved that problem and we feel content with it. A top tip for this one is to find more resources on our website. We've got a worksheet with how to do this step process that can really help you break down each part and take you through that process in a guided way, making it feel much less overwhelming overall. Some common ways that people have told us that they've kind of problem solved achieving their goals are things like asking for help. That might be friends or family, professionals, or other people in their lives. Seeing if there's groups or programs with the same aim, much like the Couch to 5K program in Jay's example, or if there's support groups. Seeing if anyone else has already come up with solutions, sometimes working on a problem that people have already solved before. Let's see if we can use anybody else's resources to save time and energy. Maybe brainstorming, really considering the kind of wildest ideas and theories that we have and seeing if we can put them into use. Maybe we need to turn to Google and have a bit of a time to research or look into what options there might be. Or it could be getting friends and family involved with the goal, getting those close to us on board in our kind of project or whatever it is that we're aiming towards so that we can have that shared goal and aim. It feels like we're less alone with it. So thinking about that, are there any others you can think of that you've used in the past or you might be able to use with that problem or barriers that you're facing right now? Maybe have a think and see if there's any that you could list down when you're problem solving. So to summarise, the final kind of points coming from this presentation and video today are really that we need to think about our values. Think about how that compass directs us. What are those things that are most important to us in life that guide the way we live and how we're going to plan our goals? Think about from then what goals are important to us. How can we make them smarter? How can we make sure that we're going to achieve them in the best way possible and that they're going to be realistic for us with timescales to work for? And finally, how can we use that problem solving? If these things are feeling really difficult already, maybe we've set the goals, we've used our values, but there's still problems we're coming up against. Let's see if there's any other ways we could look at this and solve this problem. So remember, values, goals, and problem solving are all really helpful when looking to overcoming barriers and finding that motivation. Finally, just to tell you a bit about us who's made this video today, we're Talk Plus, a free NHS talking therapy service for Rushmore, Hart and Farnham. We work with people who experience stress, anxiety, low mood and worry, as well as those managing a long-term health condition. We offer things like one-to-one therapy, groups and courses, as well as online therapy. If you require further support and live in one of these areas above, for any of those above issues, you can self-refer by calling us or going online. And you can also be referred by your GP or healthcare professional. If you're not in our area and you're looking for more support, you can also Google your local NHS talking therapy service and they will be able to provide similar support. Thank you for watching this video today and I hope it's been helpful for you.